traveling with my family in my trusty overland vehicle, and we are gonna explore the island of Sardinia. So we are in Cagliari, the capital of Sardinia, which it has been from the Roman era. We're gonna see the old... Today we'll be driving from Cagliari to the province of Nuoro, and on our way we made a stop at an archaeological site called Su Nuraxi di Barumini. And it's kind of cool because this is an archaeological area that's from the Nuragic period in Sardinia. Now, the Nuragic culture, I never heard about it before I started reading about it, and when we came to this archaeological site I was even more amazed. The Nuragic culture were dominating the island from I think it was the 16th to the 6th century before Christ, and it has left more than 7,000 stone structures around the island. This structure is more like stone towers called Nurag, therefore the name Nuragic culture. Earlier this morning we actually went to the archaeological museum in Cagliari. Back here you have some typical ceramic from the Nuragic civilization, and of course it was the pottery, the ceramic, that's often classified the different cultures, not only Nuragic, but we're talking all over the world. And we could also see that they had some very nice bronze figures or figurines. I know that the Nuragic culture were very well developed when it comes to bronze metallurgy. Also the weapons, you can see it's quite well done. When we came to the archaeological area, we found out quite quickly that you need to be accompanied by a guide. I was lucky. It was late, so I was the only one there. So I had like my private guide. The first thing you see is the Nurag, but around the Nurag, the towers, there is a village, and you can clearly see the different houses. They were all circular, made of stone walls. Now, most probably these huts had like wooden beams, maybe covered with reed, etc. Some of the huts you could still see the mortar where they were graining. One hut had like a stone seats or stone seating. Most probably it was some kind of assembly house, maybe for the aristocracy. Now, when you look at the Nurag, when you look at the main complex, you could divide it into two periods. Now, the first one, I mean the central towers with its smaller towers around, where I think it was constructed around the end of the 14th century, the beginning of the 13th century, and then later on it was reinforced with a 3-meter thick wall around the whole complex. So first the entrance to the complex was at the ground level, but after that reinforcement the entrance was 7 meters above ground level. And then as you enter you have to go through a narrow passageway and then down into the main courtyard. And then you have all kind of different passageways around there. Now the main tower actually were consisting of 3 stores. Now 2 of them, the first one and the second one, have survived. And when you enter you can see the typical cupola, or what's called false dome as the professional languages, or tholos. And it's just horizontal laid rocks. Now if you've been traveling to Greece, you would recognize this kind of architecture. If you've been to Mycena, and you've seen the treasure of Atreus, it's the same technique. So this means it has to be some kind of exchanging when it comes to techniques. Now, the first thing you notice is the resemblance with a medieval castle or fortress. So you think immediately that this structure must have been foremost a defensive purpose. But maybe not. Maybe it was to impress the neighboring villages as well, because there's so many of them, even though they're not as complex as this one in Barumini. But it's kind of interesting to see, think about why. Why was it so complex? Why did they build it like that? The Nuragic people didn't have any written languages, so there's a lot of things we don't know about them. I mean, it's all based on the findings. We do know they had a religion very well connected to water, and as you enter the complex and you get into the central courtyard, there is a well there, and it's 20 meters deep. Of course, if it's a fortress, you need water. If there's a siege, you need water. So maybe it had like a dual role. If you go through one of the passageways, you enter one of the other small towers, and there is also a grain storage. So it's quite clearly that this complex was also made to survive some kind of siege from the enemy.